The early 2000s were crazy years, but nothing prepared Europe for FC Porto's dominance. Dominance that was led by one man, Jose Mourinho. He started his non-playing career as an interpreter for Bobby Robson, first at Sporting and FC Porto, before both moving to FC Barcelona after having an uneventful playing career as a midfielder. He was born in 1963 to a large middle-class family in Setúbal, a city in the Lisbon metropolitan area. His father played football professionally for Belenenses and Vitória de Setúbal, earning one cap for Portugal during his career. Jose Mourinho wanted to follow in his father's footsteps and joined the Belenenses youth team. Moving to the senior level, he left the club in 1980 to sign for Rio Ave, where he played for the reserves team. And in 1981, he was joined by his father, who was named first team manager. There, he struck up a prolific partnership with veteran striker Mario Reis. According to the former teammate Valdemar Brito, who would become his assistant early on his managerial career, the duo scored around 100 goals, with Jose Mourinho netting 47 times. In addition to playing for the reserves, he was usually tasked with scouting other teams for his father. When his father returned to Rio Ave, he did not go with him and continued to play in the lower levels of the Portuguese football league system, first with Sesimbra and then for Comércio e Indústria, where he finished his career. At the latter club, he was captain of the team. Jose Mourinho decided that he lacked the required pace and power to become a professional footballer, so chose to focus on becoming a football coach instead. After leaving his job as a physical education school teacher, Mourinho looked for a path into professional football management in his hometown and became youth team coach at Vitória de Setúbal in the early 1990s. Later, he accepted the position of assistant manager at Estrela de Amadora, then he was a scout at Ovarense. And in 1992, an opportunity arose to work as a translator for a top foreign coach, Bobby Robson, who had been appointed as the new manager of Sporting and needed an English-speaking local coach to work as his interpreter. Jose Mourinho began discussing tactics and coaching with Bobby Robson as part of his interpreting role. Bobby Robson was sacked by the club in December 1993, and when FC Porto appointed him as their new coach, Mourinho moved with him, continuing to coach and interpret for players at the new club. After 2 years at Porto, the duo moved again, joining Barcelona in 1996. Jose Mourinho gradually became a prominent figure of the club's staff by translating at press conferences, planning practice sessions, and helping players through tactical advice or analysis of the opposition. Bobby Robson and Jose Mourinho's style complemented each other. The Englishman favored an attacking style, while Mourinho covered defensive options, and the Portuguese love for planning and training combined with Robson's direct man management. The Barcelona attack at the time was led by prime Ronaldo, whom Mourinho regards as the best player post-Diego Maradona. The partnership was fruitful, and Barcelona finished the season by winning the European Cup Winners' Cup, the Copa del Rey, and Supercopa de España. Bobby Robson moved clubs the following season, but this time Jose Mourinho did not follow him, as Barcelona were keen to retain him as an assistant manager. The two remained good friends, and Mourinho later reflected on the effect Robson had had upon him. One of the most important things I learned from Bobby Robson is that when you win, you shouldn't assume you are the team, and when you lose, you shouldn't think you are rubbish. He began working with Robson's successor, Louis van Gaal, and he learned much from the Dutchman's style. Both assistant and head coach combined their studious approach to the game, and Barcelona won La Liga twice in Van Gaal's first 2 years as the coach. Van Gaal saw that his assistant manager had the promise to be more than a skilled assistant. He let Mourinho develop his own independent coaching style and entrusted him with the coaching duties of Barcelona B. Louis van Gaal also let Mourinho take charge of the first team, acting as Mourinho's assistant himself for certain trophies, like the Copa Catalunya, which Barcelona won in 2000. When I spoke with Van Gaal about going back to Portugal to be an assistant manager at Benfica, he said, "No, don't go. Tell Benfica if they want a first-team coach, you will go. If they want an assistant, you will stay." And this is how Jose Mourinho started his managerial career. His time as Benfica manager was not a poor one. However, the club held presidential elections, and his reign appeared to be at risk after Benfica's election turned against club president João Vale Azevedo. Although the new president had no intention of firing him immediately, Mourinho used the victory his team had over Sporting earlier to test the president's loyalty and ask for a contract extension. The new president, Vilarinho, refused the demand and Mourinho resigned from his position immediately. He left the club on 5th of December 2000 after just 9 league games in charge. Upon later reflection, Vilarinho rued his poor judgment and expressed his frustration at losing Mourinho. Jose Mourinho became the new manager at União Oleiria, and this matchup was the platform he needed to show everyone the kind of manager he was becoming. However, it was the next club he took over, FC Porto, the one that really put him on the footballing map. At the time, Porto was in 5th place in the league behind Sporting, Boavista, União Oleiria and Benfica, had been eliminated from the Taça de Portugal and was in last place in the UEFA Champions League second group stage. Mourinho guided the team to a 3rd place that year after a strong 15-game run, including 11 wins, and gave the promise of making Porto champions next year. And with players like Vitor Bahia, Ricardo Carvalho, Costinha, Deco, Dimitri Alenicev and Helder Postiga in the team, signing Nuno Valente and Derlei from União Oleiria, Paulo Ferreira from Vitória de Setúbal, César Peixoto from Belenenses, Pedro Emanuel from Boavista and Edgar Ianascauskas and Manish, who both had been out of contract at Benfica, Jose Mourinho began his charge for the Portuguese league title. Using a playing style worthy of his pride, he won his first Primeira Liga, being 11 points clear of Benfica, the team he quit 2 years earlier. The Portuguese Cup was also won together with the UEFA Cup, where his team won over Celtic in May 2003. The following season, Jose Mourinho's FC Porto raised the bar and won the Portuguese League and, more prominently, the UEFA Champions League, playing a style of football which seemed structured, rigid, but was part of the plan to lure the opposition and counter them as swiftly as possible. He employed a diamond 4-4-2 formation, with his midfield consisting of Costinha or Pedro Mendes as defensive midfielder, Manish and Dimitri Alenicev as wide center midfielders, and Deco as attacking midfielder, acting as a cohesive unit rather than a collection of individuals, providing Porto with midfield superiority while allowing the fullbacks to move forward. Defensively, the team played with a high defensive line and were known for their fitness and use of heavy pressing high up the pitch. A 4-4-2 indeed, with a sweeper keeper on defend duty. As these are modern times, the goalkeeper must be a sweeper one in the game to help your team retain possession of the ball as much as possible. The back four are a fullback on attack duty, a ball-playing defender, a central defender, and a wingback on attack duty. All 4 defenders interpret different roles, depending on the team's needs. The fullback goes up in the attack depending on the team's possession game, but he's always there to offer a passing option. The central defender's primary objective is to stop counterattacks, but the ball-playing one becomes the passing option when needed, and the wingback joins the attack often, providing width on his side and luring opponents onto him before sending a through ball or a cross to the forward players. The midfield diamond is a narrow one in this Jose Mourinho team. This is to ensure the numerical advantage the team has in the midfield is utilized as best as possible, capturing the ball and releasing it as fast as possible to the strikers. A ball-winning midfielder role on defend duty was preferred, as the defensive midfielder usually just recovered the ball and passed it quickly to the more creative midfielders. 2 center midfielders on support duty were chosen in the midfield area of the pitch. This is to maximize the creativity the players have to counteract the opposition's pressing game. The right-sided one is asked to mark tighter, while the left-sided one is asked to mark tighter, get further forward and dribble more. This is used like this for variety, but the right-sided one relies heavily on his player traits, so be careful what type of player you employ here. And up top, we have an attacking midfielder on support duty, a pressing forward on attack, and an advanced forward on attack. The attacking midfielder is expected to receive the ball and use his vision and intelligence on the pitch to play the best possible pass. As the playing style relies on counter-attacking, this needs to happen quite fast. Mark tighter is part of all 3 attacking players' set of instructions. This instruction is used to make sure that the players are as aggressive as possible out of possession and they harry their opponents so much that they end up losing the ball in a way or another. The mentality is a positive one, and it is very important to keep the team as a structured one. In possession, fairly narrow attacking width and passing to space, slightly more direct passing directness and a slightly higher or standard tempo. And run and defense is used to make sure the players run towards the opposition's goal as soon as the ball was recovered. This is why you need quick and intelligent players, especially in the final third of the pitch. In transition, regroup, or you can leave this part unticked. Counter and distribute the ball to the defense. And out of possession, as mentioned earlier, high press and a higher defensive line, and trigger press more often. This tactic brought us 5 trophies: the Premier League, the UEFA Champions League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and the FA Community Shield, in my save with Manchester City. I know it's Manchester City, but I wanted to test this tactic with one of the best teams in the world right now. Jose Mourinho has had an incredible managerial career so far, and his counter-attacking playing style suited all the teams he managed. More than 20 years have passed since his first trophy with FC Porto, and we still expect him to deliver, regardless of the team. What a legend!